Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy from Cichlid Bros. In today's video, I'm going to be opening up the koi pond behind me here. I'm going to show you how my koi did during the winter season. I'm in the Chicagoland area and we had a very rough winter with a lot of cold temps and a ton of snow. So I'm going to show how the koi did during all of that. Really excited to walk through this one. And guys, let's dive right in. So just some quick context on this pond. Me and my wife moved into this house last year during the summer months, and I got this pond up and running, which I'll put a link in the description for that full video of the setup, where I needed to figure out how the plumbing worked, the pump itself, and then I picked up koi from nextdaykoi.com. I was really excited to have koi for the first time and to have an outdoor system, as I've kept aquariums for many years, but this is the first time I actually had a pond. One of the main questions I get from friends or family as they come over to our house is not about my aquariums, but more so about what I do with the koi during the cold season. I'm going to show that today. We're going to go back in time a little bit and show where we were during the winter.
We're sending you back to the future!
Okay guys, so as you can see, it's the middle of January. I have a ton of snow in my backyard, and there's the koi pond. Let's take a look. So winters in Chicago get very cold, but this winter we had extra cold weather with a ton of snow. And as you can see, my pond completely froze over except for that one hole in the middle there where my de-icer was floating. We'll talk a little bit more about how this worked to keep my koi safe, but I also couldn't see my koi under the ice and snow, so I was just hoping that everything was working correctly, as there was just a ton of snow and ice throughout the winter. Okay guys, so here we are in the middle of March, and guess what? Still snowing in Chicago.
Great Scott!
In the last few weeks we actually had some warmer weather and the ice melted from the pond, but now it's starting to snow again, and it'll probably be another few weeks of consistent warm weather before I actually set up the pump and get everything running once again. So much less snow and ice here, although the water temperature is still very cold, and I still couldn't see my koi as they were in hibernation mode and they were hiding within the rocks here at the bottom of the pond. So once again, I had no idea if they were alive. In total, I had 3 koi as we headed into the winter, so I was looking for each of them and I didn't see any signs until later in the spring. So as we moved into April, the snow and ice had melted, but I still didn't see the koi as they were hiding under these rocks here. There are a bunch of different rock caves for them to hide within. So it had been about 4 or 5 months since I had actually seen life in this pond, and I was starting to get a bit worried. And then as I was about to go inside, I started to see a little bit of movement, and I walked up slowly, and I did see one of my koi here. And then shortly after, this was followed by the first sighting of my second koi, and so now I know that 2 out of my 3 had survived, at least to this point. I was really excited to see that they survived. I was still worried about the 3rd koi at this point, but right as I was about to set up the pump and get the pond going, guess what? Chicago weather hit and it started snowing again in April.
I just want it to stop.
2 weeks later.
So after having a couple weeks of warm weather, it was finally time to get the pond up and running. So I got the pump out of storage and decided to clean the impeller off by unscrewing the unit, rinsing and washing off the impeller, and then reassembling before installing back on the pond. I then placed the pump into the skimmer, hooked up the plumbing, and then plugged it in. Okay, so now it's late April and the pond's been running for a while. Let's check it out, see how it is today. So all 3 koi made it through the winter and seem to be doing really well. They're very active and they're already starting to eat just a little bit. So koi have the ability to go into a state of hibernation if there are cold temperatures for a sustained period of time. So this is a completely natural behavior for the koi. And it was actually a primary reason I picked them for this pond. Just knowing that they could stay in this pond during the winter months, and as long as I had a de-icer, they could survive and be just fine. So to answer the question from my friends and family and to anyone else that is asking how this works, basically you need some type of de-icer to make sure your pond doesn't completely freeze over. And that hole in the ice makes sure the water stays oxygenated. And as long as you're getting oxygen and your water quality is fine, they can survive this winter period by going into this hibernation state and be completely fine. So another thing to keep in mind is the depth of your pond. If your pond's only a few feet deep, this may not work out for your koi, as they need sufficient room at the bottom of the pond to be able to hibernate in peace and have room under the ice. My pond here is about 4.5 feet deep, so there's sufficient room for them to just get away and sit down there at the bottom of the pond. Another thing I would recommend is just coming out of winter, lightly feeding your koi, just as their metabolism starts to ramp back up as they slowly come out of that hibernation state. So I'm really happy that the koi did well and survived the winter months. I'm also looking forward to the warmer seasons as the koi will now be able to thrive and put on a lot of weight. I have some other plans in mind for this pond in terms of upgrades when it comes to some lighting and maybe even some lily pads that I'll add to this pond later on. Really looking forward to it and enjoying this pond during the summer. I'll make sure to keep the channel posted on all of the progress that I have with this pond, and if you haven't done so already, please make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.